I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get set for race number 30 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series here from the high banks of the Mile Hillside Raceway. We are getting ready here for our fourth playoff race of the season. Playoff race number 1 of our round of 12. This will kind of set the table for the upcoming remaining races here in this second round of the playoffs. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park next week, and then our second elimination race at Arizona. We're coming off the heels of our first elimination race last week at Nashville Superspeedway, which whittled our playoff field down from 17 to our last remaining 12 drivers as they continue on their leg of this postseason. For 5 drivers, unfortunately, their journey has come to an end, but they still want to finish out the season as strong as they can. For some drivers, they're looking in preparation for the upcoming 8th season. Other drivers maybe might be calling it a career at the end of this season. They'd like to go out on a high note. But for those other 12, we'll be focusing on them quite a bit here today because we've seen it in the past. Drivers that run into trouble in the first race of the 3-race playoff system more often than not end up finding themselves heading into the elimination race in sometimes a must-win situation. So we'll keep tabs on that during the course of this one, especially as well you consider the fact that we had 17 playoff drivers when we started out at Gateway. That was not quite half of our field. So there were a lot of points, yes, on the line, but not nearly as many as when you consider now we've got 12 drivers and 30 of the drivers in this field are points, are positions that those drivers are going to want to get. A lot more points can be gained or lost on the table as we continue to condense down the playoff grid. Speaking of, let's take a look at the playoff standings coming to this one, and it's pretty simple because after we finish out a round of the playoffs, everything gets reformatted with those moving on. The only exception is if you've ended up winning a race during that previous round, you get 5 bonus points towards the next round, which is why you see Rob Evans and Matthew Rodriguez tied at the top of the playoff standings. Matthew Rodriguez with the win at Gateway. Rob Evans, his first career win garnered last week at Nashville Superspeedway. So they sit with 2,005 points. Everybody else is lined up according to their average finishing position, but they're all technically in a 10-way tie for third place. Well, technically it'd be for second place, wouldn't it? With LaPlante, Hoyt, Turner, Butcher, Batson, Banks, Poteet, Rogers, Shelton, and Breton all moving on here to this second round of the playoffs. You see there Will Goss, Caleb Vogler, James Qualls, Destin Bolin, and Dylan Young in red since they were eliminated last week. Tough break there for a 3-time winner in James Qualls, a former champion in Caleb Vogler, and then all 3 of the Young Motorsports drivers that moved into the playoffs all eliminated in one felled swoop. But any of those drivers listed right there that are out of these playoffs could easily find victory lane here today as maybe a little bit of recompense for what occurred last week at Nashville Superspeedway. But they're going to have to go through our front row. Laura Chung capturing her second pole on the season. Laura Chung this year, 1 season removed from when she was in the playoffs competing for the championship in her first full-time rookie season. Comes into this race 37th in overall points, only 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, average finishing position of just barely under 24th place. Looking for a little spark here today to be able to get that first victory of the season. We saw Rob Evans be able to pick up his first career win last week, so Chung might be able to put a 1 in the win column here this week. And we talk about a driver looking for his first career win outside the front row is the Mazda MX-5 out of Fortnite Squad Racing of Anthony McCreary. Anthony has yet to go to victory lane here in a Duracell Cup Series race. Could we go 2 for 2 in the last 2 weeks of a driver getting their first career win? We'll have to wait and see if that's the case. Anthony's got a very fast machine. He was the fastest in round 1 of qualifying and second fastest in round 2. So he'll have good starting track position. We'll see if it garners him a good finishing spot and maybe even a checkered flag. As far as our playoff contenders are concerned, only 2 of them managed to transfer into the Fast 10 in yesterday's qualifying session. Ryan Butcher will be the highest starter. Ryan Butcher, we mentioned this yesterday and I'll mention it again today, was probably the best driver in the round of 17 that did not find victory lane. The most consistent, was up at the top of the point standings for pretty much the entirety of our 3 races at Gateway and Nashville Super Speedway, and where was the other race I'm trying to remember? Chatham. He was at the top of the point standings for all 3 of those races pretty much from start to finish, and he's got good starting track position here today. Rob Evans, last week's winner, was also another driver that was very consistent during that last round. Of course, got the checkered flag at Nashville Super Speedway, and he will start in the 10th position. We got a couple of the playoff drivers, though. They're just outside of the top 10 as well. Zach Rogers and Jessica Shelton managed to qualify on row 6 in 11th and 12th. And I'll kind of throw this out there. I talked about this yesterday. I'll talk about it a lot here today. Even though this is a mile racetrack, consider this in many ways like a super speedway. You can work your way from the back to the front. Daniel Voyes, the defending winner of this race, he started 15th, won the race. Guess how many laps he led in that event? 2. The last 2. So everybody that takes the green flag here, regardless of where they start, can easily make their way up here to the front in this 80-lap feature. Well, I've rambled on enough. It's time to continue on the playoffs here for the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series and get ready to see what Hillside's going to bring to the table. Let's go down trackside for those most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Keep an eye on your temps for this first segment. We shouldn't really be in danger of overheating, but it will, probably get up to about 220, so just keep an eye on that.
42 drivers ready to take to Hillside International Raceway. 6 former winners at this event. 5 of them are in the field here this afternoon. Defending winner Daniel Voyles, as well as Matt McIntyre, Cody Lamas, Dylan Poteet, and Dodge was the very first manufacturer to take a checker flag here, with Ryan Brommer back in Season 1. This has been a track that's been a mainstay on the schedule ever since the inception of the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series, and it's ready to play its part once again here today in Season 7. Top 3, single file. Jose Mills in an Auto Junction Racing sandwich with Chung in front and Butcher just behind. Mills now makes a step out here on the front straightaway, as it will be Laura Chung leading the first lap of the afternoon. For those that were wondering when I was listing off the former winners, you might be thinking, well, Seth, you only listed off 5 former winners, and there have been 6 previous races. You're correct. We do have one driver that's not in the field that was a former winner here at Hillside, and that was Andrew Davis back in Season 5. He was in a KAB Racing Enterprises car. Ryan Butcher now out in front, would love to get that bonus point for a lap led. Could be very crucial when we get to the elimination race at Arizona in 2 weeks' time. He will get that lap led. Now former playoff contender Destin Bolin moving into second. Destin Bolin, we already documented, he along with his teammates, as I believe we're under caution, yes we are, he along with his teammates Dylan Young, Will Goss, eliminated from the playoffs. Destin still looking for his first win on the season after 3 victories last year. Oh, we got trouble up here with Mitchell Collins right in the middle of the track. Everybody having to slow up to avoid, and one thing we got to be careful of, that these drivers have to be careful is not to beach their cars on the banking. And I think a couple of them have already. Dylan Poteet, Austin LaPlante, and Caleb Fogler. And now it looks like RJ Bishop may be stuck there on the apron. I think some of these drivers might be waiting to get into their correct positionings. But I saw a few drivers on pit lane, including Chris Dollerton, Mitchell Collins, Will Goss as well in the 11. Other drivers here on pit road that have come in and pulled into their pit stalls of their own accord. So we're going to have to figure out who is actually where, as Ryan Butcher leads off of pit road, but I think Casey Hoyt might have stayed out. We got to figure all this out here as we go back and take a look at what brought out the caution. Last year, there were 4 yellow flags at Hillside for a total of 16 laps. And let's see what brought this yellow flag out for the first time today. Looks like it might have involved one of our playoff drivers in Rob Evans. Evans was up on the top side, starting to kind of fall back. And I believe it's up here in the next set of corners. Oh, right there. Gets hooked by Kyler Sustre. Then back up the track into... Oh, he actually got up and over and almost flipped up into Carson Gum and Mitchell Collins. Daniel Voiles as well sliding down the banking there, the defending winner of this race. And there you see the 19 and the 65 kind of come to a stop, and they're beached on that banking, the flat apron to the high bank transition of the corner. And they may have actually had to call for a tow, but I think we had another couple of drivers that actually ended up getting involved in a wreck down towards the bottom of the entrance to the corner. Let's focus on the 4 of Kyler Sustre here as he gets into Reese Banks in the 44. Chris Dollerton there in the 83. Dollerton, I think, gets stuck right there in the transition. Banks is able to continue, and so too is Kyler Sustre. But Carson Gum and Mitchell Collins, Chris Dollerton. Oh, and then, oh, man, then we had something up here. That was, off of turn 4, I believe? Will Goss got spun around. What happens to him? Oh, we had some other drivers involved in an incident further up. I think when the 66 of Fitzwater goes low to avoid this wreck, watch for the 66 down the bottom of your screen. He's going to come back up the transition, gets James Qualls, and they come up right into the path of Will Goss. And then here comes the 4 of Kyler Sustre as Goss is trying to get turned back around. Bam! I'll tell you who got a really good view of all that going on ahead of him, and that is a former 3-time winner on the season, one of our playoff drivers, Matthew Rodriguez. Let's go on board with the FRN Chevrolet Camaro, who got a front row seat of just about everything that occurred from turn 2 all the way over to the exit of turn 4. And then it's not over. Wow. Matthew Rodriguez gets through relatively unscathed, but a few playoff drivers collected up in that one, as well as drivers that got stuck on the transition when they entered over into the vicinity of where the 19, the 65, the 33 were all sitting. We've got to sort this out and figure out who is scored where. We do know that Ryan Butcher is being scored as the race leader, despite the fact that Casey Hoyt did not come to pit road. Hoyt's going to restart in second. Then Michael Norman, Zach Rogers, Dylan Young are the top 5 with Destin Bolin, Nathan Norman, Joshua Osborne, Jose Mills, Matt McIntyre. That is the scored top 10. But we've got 4 drivers that are out of the race. We'll document them in a minute. We also have 5 drivers that are a lap down after they were stuck on that transition and had to call a tow. Those drivers would be Dylan Poteet, Ryan Brommer, Austin LaPlante, Chris Dollerton, and Carson Gum. 2 of them, Poteet and LaPlante, are playoff contenders. And 1 playoff driver who had a great first round now is going to have to kind of dig himself out of a hole here in the second round is Rob Evans, last week's winner, out of the race. He'll finish in 41st. Also out, Will Goss, Kyler Sustre, and Mitchell Collins. Green flag back in the air. 38 drivers still running. 33 on the lead lap, as Dylan Poteet looks to get his lap back the hard way. Ryan Brommer looks to do the same. They will both clear the 78. Now they're hoping for a quick yellow to save them and get them back at the tail end of the lead lap. Now Ryan Butcher with a nice crossover there. He'll get back to the inside of Poteet, put him a lap down once more. His Auto Junction Racing teammate just up ahead. Right now on the tail end of the lead lap is Ryan Brommer. Destin Bolin has managed to get around Casey Hoyt for second place. Inside line is moving. So Bolin, Ormond, Osborne, Mills, all drivers on that inside line. Starting to charge up here towards the front. And now Destin Bolin going to set his sights back on the 78 of Ryan Butcher, as looked like a driver there with an unscheduled pit stop. I believe that might have potentially been RJ Bishop in the 98. We're also hearing Anthony McCurry receiving a black flag for a restart violation, so our outside pole sitter going to have to come down pit road here under green. He'll lose at least a lap, maybe two. Doesn't take him very long to tick off laps here at Hillside. Sounds like Anthony's coming down to serve that black flag right now. RJ Bishop as well did have an unscheduled pit stop, as Nathan Ormond got the race lead and has drifted Ryan Butcher all the way back outside of the top five. Osborne into second, and pole sitter Laura Chung now into third. Just saw the 28 of Caleb Fogler there coming off of pit lane. Oh, look out, slow car. Couple of slow cars. Zachary Fitzwater very off the pace there. Nick Gunther was kind of held up behind him. Oh, and then contact into the wall, Fitzwater and Shelton. As Shelton gets squeezed, and this is going to split the field up a ton. Not sure why the 66 is still out there if he's that far off the pace. As lead change going to take place right there out of turn number 4. Laura Chung going to get around Joshua Osborne. She goes back to the point. There's McCurry back on track after he had to serve the pass-through penalty. Anthony is currently one lap down in the 36th position. And this is not for position between him and Ryan Brommer. Brommer is a full lap ahead. As a matter of fact, now with Laura Chung completing the pass, Anthony will go -2 to the race leaders. Ryan Brommer trying to stay on the tail end lead lap. Quentin Moore, slow car there, obviously damaged and off the pace. Everybody trying to make their way around him. How about Reggie Fogelman there? The announcement made that he's going to finish out the year in the number 80 for Haas Racing in preparation for his full-time ride next year with the organization. And he's battling with Zach Rogers for the second spot. Zach Rogers looking for another good playoff race here. Led the most laps last week at Nashville. Finished up inside of the top 10. And Zach Rogers right now looking to get up there to Laura Chung. Remember, same situation it was last playoff round. Win and you're in. Matthew Rodriguez, he was able to win at Gateway. Was locked in regardless of the events of Chatham or Nashville. If Zach Rogers is able to win here today, he's locked into the next round regardless of Canadian Tire or Arizona. RJ Bishop off the pace there in the 98. That would explain the unscheduled pit stop. Zachary Fitzwater there also off the pace. I also saw another car just on pit road. I might have been wrong, but it looked like it could have been the 19 of Carson Gum. And now more slow traffic for the leaders to have to deal with. That's James Qualls in the 30, who was just recently eliminated from the playoffs after winning 3 races this regular season. And Austin LaPlante, who is right now off the lead lap and obviously off the pace with the whole front end housing missing on his Ally Chevrolet. So if you're looking at some drivers that could potentially be in trouble heading into our next 2 races of this round of 12, Rob Evans and Austin LaPlante would certainly have to be in that conversation. Lead change coming, 3 wide. On the inside, Reggie Fogelman looking to take the top spot from Zach Rogers. Oh, and they're going to wreck! And Fogelman gets spun down into the... Oh, right down into turn 3. He's going to actually go up and over. Big hit there for Dylan Poteet. Chris Dalton, Ryan Brommer, James Qualls collected up. The caution's going to fly once again. And that was a big shot that Dylan Poteet took right there. So that's another driver that's going to be in trouble here, I think, and below the cut line heading into next week. Zach Rogers got damage in that. And he's the race leader. And then Reggie Fogelman, who was battling Rogers for the lead, got swept up in that spin between himself and James Qualls. Caution out for the second time today, about a quarter of the way through. And Rogers is going to lead. Looks like everybody down pit road. That'll give us the opportunity to go back and take a look at what happened. believe it was Qualls that got the shot from Dylan Poteet. But look at how badly this turned out as 3 wide for the race lead. Fogelman in the 80, Rogers in the 6, and then who gets who? Oh, Brommer gets into LaPlante, gets into the wall, and then bounces down into traffic. And watch this shot right here. Bam! Poteet into Qualls, Dollarton nowhere to go. Ryan Brommer there. Down on the apron. Daniel Voiles able to avoid quite a bit of that as he got really low down the apron. Let's take a look at the 87 of Ryan Brommer. It didn't look like he got hooked. It almost looked like maybe, did LaPlante run him out of room? What happens exactly here? LaPlante moves up. Yeah, LaPlante moved up and puts Ryan Brommer in the wall. Then he ricochets off of Anthony McCurry. There's Cody Lamas that might have gotten a bit of that. But Cody was able, for the most part, to sneak through relatively unscathed. That's a big hit for Dylan Poteet, and I'll be surprised if that doesn't take him out of the race. That would be at least 2 playoff contenders that would be behind the wall here in the early going of this one. And we'll put those drivers in not necessarily a must-win situation, but they're definitely going to need good runs next week at CTMP. Can confirm Dylan Poteet has been pushed back behind the wall. James Qualls as well, the 2 that had the big shots there in that wreck. Reggie Fogelman, Caleb Fogler are both a lap down, as is Zachary Fitzwater. I believe Anthony McCurry at the time that yellow came out was able to be ahead of the leader, so he is only -1 as opposed to -2. Zach Rogers with that front end damage came down pit road. The leader left as the leader. They did not bother to do any little TLC on the front end of his Ghost Energy Chevrolet. So he will have Carson Gum in front of him, who I believe is 2 laps down. Carson, I think, has got to go to the inside line here, which he will. So it'll be Zach Rogers, the leader. Reese Banks will line up in second, so a couple of playoff drivers in the top 2. Former winner at this track, Matt McIntyre, lines up in the 3rd spot. 4th place will be Cole Deaver, Joshua Osborne 5th, then Matt Haas in 6th, Casey Hoyt, the next highest running playoff contender, in 7th, Dustin Bolin, Michael Norman, and Dylan Young going to be the top 10. Looks like we'll have 25 drivers on the lead lap when we go back green. Nick Gunther, Quentin Moore have also lost a lap. And it looks like the only 2 drivers out of the race after that incident are Poteet and Qualls, joining Will Goss, Kyler Sustre, Rob Evans, and Mitchell Collins in the garage area. So Poteet and Evans, we'll be keeping an eye on them next week at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, as they've got a lot of points they'll have to make up with the DNF suffered here this afternoon at Hillside. Pace car dives onto pit road. 2nd restart of the afternoon here at Hillside Raceway. And Rogers up through the gears, going to get us back under the green. He'll have the lap traffic to deal with on the inside. Look at Matt McIntyre back there from 3rd, jumping down to the bottom. He'll already pick up the 2nd spot on Reese Banks, and he wants more. Matt McIntyre, who won at this racetrack back in Season 2, looking to go back to victory lane for what's been a very long winless spell. And he'll take the lead here off of turn 4, and at the start-finish line leads that lap. Joshua Osborne right behind him. Into 2nd he will slot. Casey Hoyt will move into 3rd. It's like the 98 of RJ Bishop making a number of unscheduled stops. They're just trying to keep him up to minimal speed. A lot of points that RJ Bishop can pick up, though. He can pick up 2 more spots here as we got a caution out immediately. 3rd caution of the day. And hopefully we don't see any drivers that are beached up here. The leaders will end up hitting. There is smoke going into turn 3. But it doesn't look like there's anybody in the vicinity, so that's a fortunate sign. But a quickie yellow here, and kind of hard to tell who it might have been. Maybe the 48 of Austin LaPlante, but Plante's pretty damaged and off the pace. Looks like we got some split strategy here with this yellow flag. Some drivers staying out, some drivers coming in. Joshua Osborne, though, going to be the race leader. Let's go back, take a look, and see what brought this yellow flag out. We'll check around the 48, but I'm not 100% certain it was him that brought the yellow out. Well, he was around the vicinity of where it was. Looks like Quentin Moore in the 89 was holding up Reggie Fogelman. Fogelman's going to... Oh, no, actually it was LaPlante again running a driver out of room. First it was Ryan Brommer. This time it was Levi McIntyre. And LaPlante gets hooked up into the wall and sweeps up Nick Gunther as well. So So that brings out the yellow flag for the third time here today and sets us up for yet another restart. Number of the drivers that came to pit lane now coming out. Like Zach Rogers was amongst them. Pole sitter Laura Chung as well. Destin Bolin. So that will change up how the top 10 looks here on this upcoming restart. A reminder, next week is going to be I believe it's our last road course of the season. Yes, it is. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It's the Charlotte Roval substitute, if you will. Going to be making its debut on the schedule. We've had a lot of tracks this season that have made their debuts. Some of them have been really, really good and have easily been slotted in to next year's schedule. Some other ones have been kind of maybe they'll be back, maybe they won't, maybe there'll be some place they'll be substituted for them. I do know that there are a couple of tracks that are waiting in the wings potentially to be slotted into next year's Season 8 schedule, but we'll have to wait for the official word on that. But Canadian Tire should be a good one next week. It'll be just the Cup cars. We don't see the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers until another 3 weeks from now. So looking forward to that. They've got 2 more races left to go with the championship hanging in the balance, and things are getting really close over in that one. It was the Eric Monaco and Benny Watson show, but now all of a sudden Austin Reed and Kyle Langland, David Dixon, they've started getting into the conversation, and they mathematically still have a shot at it. Lights out on the pace car. Nobody out of the race after that latest incident. Looks like we've got 25 drivers on the lead lap here as we get ready to go back green. So there will be about roughly 10, 11 lap down cars that will line up on the inside here. That'll force the hand of these lead lap cars to try and wrestle away the top position from Joshua Osborne, with Casey Hoyt in second, Matt McIntyre, Matt Haas, Michael Norman the top 5, then Reese Banks, Dylan Young, Nathan Ormond, Ryan Butcher, and Charles Sanford. That is your top 10 as we get ready to go back racing at Hillside. 50 laps to go. Osborne with the early jump. Clears around the outside of Anthony McCrory. Casey Hoyt and Matt McIntyre will do the same, and now Matt McIntyre back on the charge. Ooh, almost got into the left rear quarter panel of Casey Hoyt, moving him up the racetrack to get the runner-up spot. Right behind them, the Club 100 Toyota of Matt Haas in the 4th spot, and Michael Norman, our winner from a couple of weeks ago at Chatham, slotted into 5th. Battle going to be for 3rd place. Haas to the inside of Hoyt. Gets the run on that inside line off of turn 4. Michael Norman looks to follow him as well. Dylan Young there in the 2. Just recently eliminated from the playoffs. Former winner on the season. You got 3 of the Michael Norman Motorsports cars up here inside of the top 10, with Matt McIntyre in 2nd, looking for the lead. Now Michael Norman into 3rd, and battle for 4th, Nathan Ormond to the inside of Dylan Young. The only Michael Norman Motorsports car that is missing would be Mitchell Collins, and he is out of the race, along with Rob Evans, Kyler Sustre, Will Goss, James Qualls, and Dylan Poteet. 4 drivers going to get eliminated at the end of this round, and right now you have to think that Dylan Poteet, Rob Evans, as things currently stand, Austin LaPlante, they're going to be below the cut line heading into next week at Canadian Tire. Not sure who the other one would be. Maybe Zach Rogers. Rogers right now running 24th on the tail end of the lead lap. But remember also, Zach Rogers came to pit road under that last yellow, gave up a lot of track position. So things might cycle around for him if we get into a long green flag run. Matt McIntyre finally gets to the inside of Joshua Osborne, and he will lead an M&M train with the 21, the 23, and the 22 all lined up. Here comes Reese Banks in the 44. He's going to move into the 4th position. Right now, the highest running of the playoff contenders, his teammate Casey Hoyt, just 2 cars behind him in 6th, as Banks now goes to work on getting into the podium, getting around Michael Norman. Remember, for drivers here like Banks or Casey Hoyt, they win here today, they're locked into the next round, and Reese Banks, his only victory up to this point was Talladega 1 season ago, as we'll focus here on the leaders having to deal with the slow car of Austin LaPlante. But 1 season ago was Talladega Superspeedway. Talladega is not on the schedule here this year. They're actually going to the night race at Daytona for the middle, I think it's the middle race. It's either the first race or the middle race of the third round of the playoffs. I want to say it's the middle race. Whoa, Chris Dollerton running Joshua Osborne out of room there. As he and Zachary Fitzwater are in a bit of a tussle. I believe that's for position between those two. Fitzwater is 2 laps down and Dollerton is 3 laps down. So no, actually it is not for position between those two drivers. But Osborne doing a good job, working his way through the slower traffic, keeping the lead. There's his teammate Quentin Moore. He'll get by the slow 89. As Casey Hoyt now on his back bumper for the race lead. Casey Hoyt, 3-time winner on the season, looking for a series-leading 4th trip to victory lane and an automatic ticket into the round of 8. 74, this is the furthest that entry out of Lake Effect Autosport has ever made it in the playoffs. Michael Norman right now in 3rd, and then Matt McIntyre, Dylan Young mixing it up for the 4th position. McIntyre will take the spot. Then it's a big gap back here. Apparently that traffic woed up drivers like Reese Banks and Matt Haas. They're trying to catch back up. Destin Bolin right now in 8th, Jose Mills in 9th, Jessica Shelton there in 10th. By far one of the best drivers last week in terms of pit road execution, as she continually gained spots on the green flag pit stops that we had last weekend, and made her way up into the top 10 to put herself above the cut line and keep the hopes alive for S3 Motorsports to have back-to-back-to-back championships for that race team. The 09 did it in season 5. The 03 did it in season 6. And Jessica Shelton looking to do it here in season 7 in that Project Dodge Intrepid. Well, with Wetback Green, I'm pretty sure these drivers were not able to make it the rest of the scheduled distance on fuel, and we have appeared to settle into a bit of a long green flag run here. Hopefully I haven't just jinxed it. They will continue to have to deal with slow traffic out there. They're catching some right now in Anthony McCurry and last year's winner Daniel Voiles. But if they have to make that dive onto pit lane, where is the fuel window for them to be able to make it the rest of the way? Does anyone try the undercut, or do they all try and run long and take on as little fuel as possible? We've just crossed the halfway threshold here, so still a lot of racing, a lot of strategy yet to go. You're looking as far as tire fall-off is concerned, even though draft is a part and parcel of some of the fast laps that these drivers have put down today. We're looking already between 7 to 8 tenths of a second difference in tire fall off from their fastest laps to the current laps they are running, as Matt McIntyre goes to the point. Dylan Young into 2nd place. Let's go on board with the Coca-Cola Ford Mustang and listen to how you have to make your way around this high-banked mile Hillside Raceway. Great shot right there, showing us what you have to do to make your way through traffic. You heard him have to bail out of the throttle numerous times in that whole exchange. And he's actually lost touch because of that with the top 3. Casey Hoyt, Matt McIntyre, and Joshua Osborne have scampered away. They had to deal with some traffic there, and Quentin Moore and Austin LaPlante that actually lost Osborne touch with the top 2. Now he should be able to draft back up to them. This slower traffic definitely splitting the field up. Now Dylan Young and Michael Norman getting around the 89 and the 48. And they'll look to reel the top 3 back in. 24 drivers on the lead lap right now. Levi McIntyre, the last of those, and he's got about 8 or 9 seconds up on Matt McIntyre, the current race leader. RJ Bishop continually on and off of pit road. That car badly off the pace. He's just out there logging laps. He's managed to pick up a couple of spots than where he would have finished had he retired at the point of the damage that he sustained. There's the last car on the lead lap in Levi McIntyre. Let's look back here at some of the other playoff drivers that are not doing so well. Keith Batson, we saw him last week at Nashville Superspeedway finish outside of the top 30, but he had been able to accumulate enough points at both Gateway and Chatham that he was able to still remain above the 12th position in the playoff standings to advance into this next round. But right now he is in, last time by, I believe, 22nd. Zach Rogers, I thought that when we saw him come to pit road, not repair the front end damage, and then return to the track, that he was going to be fine, but apparently that's not the case. He restarted back around the 16th, 17th position, has since drifted back to 24th, and has not made up any ground since then. So he does have the bonus point for being out in front and leading a lap. I don't know how much that's going to help him at this point in time. There's the plant still off the pace. Jesse Turner has worked his way up to 17th after a solid top 5 run last week. Jessica Shelton right now is back to around 16th position, just lost the 15th spot to Nathan Ormond. Connor Breton is up here. He is currently scored in 11th. Reese Banks just took that spot from him to try and crack back into the top 10. Ryan Butcher is currently, last time by, scored in 8th. And Matthew Rodriguez is currently in the 6th position. And now scored in 8th position as the scoring continues to update itself lap after lap. So you got a few of the playoff drivers that could be heading into our final road course stop of the year next week at Canadian Tire, with a bit of a cushion between themselves and the 8th of the standings cut line. Casey Hoyt right now in 2nd, as man, Dollerton not giving any room to Joshua Osborne there. There was actually contact between those two. Casey Hoyt looks like he's in good shape for the moment. Matthew Rodriguez, Reese Banks, Ryan Butcher, and then borderline Connor Breton, Jessica Shelton, and Jesse Turner. But still a long ways to go in this one, and a lot of traffic for the leader to have to deal with now. He's caught the tail end of the field. Caleb Fogler, former champion, just now eliminated last week, as I believe I just saw the 74 and the 21 dive onto pit lane. We've got green flag pit stops beginning here, folks. Charles Sanford was in the lap before, and here comes some others onto pit road. Benjamin Miles, Reese Banks, Cody Lamas, Ryan Butcher, Jessica Shelton. So now Osborne getting undercut there. He makes the dive onto pit lane this time. Matthew Rodriguez is coming in. This should turn the lead, I believe, over to Jose Mills. Mills did not lead that lap, though. He will more than likely lead the next time by, or will he? Destin Bolin putting the pressure on him there. This is where it gets really tricky, because you have drivers that are exiting out of turn 4, making the dive onto pit lane and the entry, but then you also have drivers that are coming off of turn 4 off of pit road, merging back onto the racetrack. Intersecting lanes, and it doesn't always work out. There's Osborne leaving pit lane. We'll see if he cycles back out to the race lead after all is said and done. I believe you're seeing some of these drivers like Mills and Bolin and Deaver, your current top 3. They came to pit road under the last caution, so they can run a little bit longer here before they have to dive onto pit road. But I think everybody should be able to make it the rest of the way now. I think most drivers came to pit road around the 20 laps to go mark, and we went back green just before halfway. So everybody should mathematically be able to make it on fuel, as Cole Deaver is going to lead that lap in the Wheaties Chevrolet. Now Mills dives back to the inside for the top spot with Destin Bolin. There is a possible exchange for the lead right there. Casey Hoyt just got around Joshua Osborne. We got to wait for everything to cycle, but that could have potentially been a pass for whoever is going to cycle out to the top spot. Here comes Mills and Bolin to pit road. Cole Deaver's going to stay out still another lap. See how long he can run before he makes the dive onto pit lane. Looks like also Kyle Matthews, Laura Chung, and Levi McIntyre are playing the long game. Zach Rogers and Keith Batson, a couple of playoff drivers, also still out there. There's Batson in the 39. Looks like he's already made his pit stop now. Deaver might be making the dive this time, but nope, he's going to stay out another lap. As Hoyt and Osborne ahead of him battle for what will, I think, eventually be the top position. And here's Deaver making the dive onto pit lane. See if there's anybody back here that we are also waiting on. Doesn't look like it. I think now everybody has completed the cycle. Yep, Laura Chung's been to pit road, so I believe that will turn the race lead over here to the 74 of Casey Hoyt. And it will be Hoyt versus Osborne for the top position. They're in this little pack, but they're about to catch a big group. Then you've got a big group further back being led by Michael Norman, along with Reese Banks and Ryan Butcher. That is 3rd, 4th, and 5th after this all cycles around. Charles Sanford will be 6th. 7th place will be Benjamin Miles. 8th, Matthew Rodriguez. 9th, Matt Haas, and Jesse Turner. Looks like he is going to complete the top 10, as I believe that those positions have now updated. 11th is going to be Nathan Orman. 12th, Dylan Young. Cody Lamas, 13th. 14th, Connor Breton. Jessica Schulten, 15th. Matt McIntyre all the way back to 16th place. 17th will be Cole Deaver after he tried the long run strategy. 18th, Destin Bolin. 19th, Jose Mills. And looks like 20th place will be Laura Chung. Zach Rogers in 21st scored the last car on the lead lap. Now he's the first car one lap down, with Joshua Osborne getting around him after he took the late race lead back from Casey Hoyt. Casey Hoyt now having to deal with the slower traffic, the lap traffic. Keith Batson there. Caleb Fogler and Daniel Voiles. He'll clear all of them. Now set his sights back on the Hunt Brothers Pizza Chevrolet of Joshua Osborne. Now Osborne burst on the scene in his first full-time rookie season last year with an early victory at Pocono, advanced his way into the playoffs. Casey Hoyt this season, 3 trips to victory lane and into the playoffs, and these two now duking it out for the victory here this afternoon at Hillside. Back to the point goes the 74 of Casey Hoyt. But Osborne right there on the back bumper. 3rd place on back are almost 3 seconds behind the top 2. So unless something happens here, and it would have to happen very soon for us to have enough laps, it is looking like it is going to be Hoyt versus Osborne. It may come down to who maneuvers through this traffic the best. You saw right there, Joshua Osborne got to the inside of Casey Hoyt, used the 61 as a pick, and now he's going to put a few machines between himself and Casey Hoyt, give himself a little bit of insurance, a little bit of padding here for this race lead. If Casey Hoyt can't get out from behind these cars, that might bring Michael Norman and company into conversation. Yeah, here they come. Don't count these guys out. Ryan Butcher, Charles Sanford, and Reese Banks are now up here, and they've got a shot at the 74. The question is, do they have a shot at the 27? I don't know. Osborne would really have to mess up behind somebody here, as he'll swing to the outside of RJ Bishop, who's probably coming back to pit road, and he is. The thing that is not on those other drivers' side is time. Osborne is ticking away laps, 5 to go, and he makes a quick pass there on Chris Dallerton. Well, Joanna Atwood Motorsports has 3 victories this season, all with James Qualls, who's had by far a career year. But Joshua Osborne is looking for his 2nd victory of his career, coming back full-time to the 27 in Season 8, and would love to do so as a winner in back-to-back full-time seasons. His nearest competitor still, I believe, is Casey Hoyt. No longer. Ryan Butcher is going to take the 2nd spot, but they're all way back here, walled in by lap traffic, including Nick Gunther and Caleb Fogler. Nobody that Joshua Osborne has to deal with right now, and he's got 3 lap machines between himself and 2nd position. More importantly, 2.5 laps remaining here as they'll make a nice pass here off of turn 4 on Zachary Fitzwater and see 2 laps to go at Hillside. Joshua Osborne has led the most laps today. That was his 35th circuit out in front, and looking to lead the last 2 as he is en route to Joanna Atwood Motorsports' 4th win on the season, the first of the year for him and 2nd of his career. You look at Joshua Osborne here this season, 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s, 33rd in overall points. This will be a well-needed shot in the arm as he will come down the back straightaway here and head into 3. Couple of cars to deal with, but a lot of room out back. Joshua Osborne, for the first time this season, he's going to be winning in the Duracell Cup Series Season 8 at Hillside Raceway. Who's going to get second? Looked like it might have been Michael Norman there, eyeballing it. But Joshua Osborne, he's going to make it where no playoff driver locks themselves into the next round, becomes the second non-playoff driver to go to victory lane here in the postseason. And 2nd win of his Duracell Cup Series career. Scoring says Reese Banks actually brought it home in 2nd with Michael Norman in 3rd. So Reese Banks could very well be at the top of the playoff standings heading into Canadian Tire next week. The only playoff driver to finish on the podium, and I believe the only playoff driver to finish in the top 5 here today. After a wild one, some carnage in the early going, but some good long run strategy, lap traffic management in the second half. Pretty much what we've been grown accustomed to when we take to Hillside International. Here's the way that they finished today's event here. Reese Banks with that 2nd position behind Osborne. Over 4 seconds Osborne had. He could have easily taken his time with the lap traffic in the closing stages. Michael Norman in 3rd. Charles Sanford brings it home in 4th. And Matt Haas with a great run in 5th. Ryan Butcher and Matthew Rodriguez, a couple of playoff drivers in the top 10 today in 6th and 7th. So they should be well above the cut line potentially. Nathan Orman, great run in 8th. And then a couple more playoff drivers completing the top 10 in Connor Breton and Jesse Turner. That is 5 playoff drivers finishing up inside of the top 10 of our 12 playoff contenders. You think these drivers realize they need a good run out of the gate and don't want to be below that cut line to start out the beginning of a round of a playoffs? I think right there is a clear case of that. Benjamin Miles 11th, and another playoff driver right there in Jessica Shelton in 12th. The biggest loser on that whole last exchange was Casey Hoyt. He cycled out to the race lead when the pit stop cycle completed, but he finishes in the 14th position, got held up behind a lot of slower cars, and that cost him greatly. Dylan Young just ahead of him in 13th, and Matt McIntyre completes the top 15. I'm not sure what happened with Matt McIntyre. I don't know if they made a bad call or had a bad pit stop on that green flag cycle, or if he also got trapped behind traffic at the wrong time. Cole Deaver tried the long run strap, but he'll bring home 16th on the lead lap. Dustin Bolin, Jose Mills, and Cody Lamas were the last drivers to finish on the lead lap. Laura Chung, first car 1 lap down in 20th. Then you got some playoff drivers, 21st, 22nd for Zach Rogers and Keith Batson. Not good runs for them, but certainly better than some of the other playoff contenders that we'll be seeing here down in the latter half of the finishing results. Austin LaPlante going to finish 5 laps down in 31st. Dylan Poteet and Rob Evans didn't even reach the conclusion, 37th and 41st. So just based off of rough math, it'll be close between Rogers and Batson, but I think because Rogers had the lap lead, I think that it's going to be Keith Batson, Austin LaPlante, Dylan Poteet, and Rob Evans below the cut line, 8th in the standings heading into next week. And it's going to be a race next week that will be absolutely all about track position, as we'll be at the last road course of the season. Canadian Tire Motorsports Park makes its debut on the schedule. But congratulations to Joshua Osborne, another first-time winner here this season, 2nd win of his career, as he takes the checkered flag at Hillside International Raceway. If you guys enjoyed this race, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We've shown you full finish results, and now you're looking at your point standings as well as your playoff points. Keep an eye around that 8th in the standings cut line, who's just above, who's just below. That's the scenarios we'll be talking about when we head up to Canada next week. But until then, I've been Seth Cole. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.